Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq greets the President of South Africa on his inauguration for a new term. Dozens are killed and several are wounded in Israeli bombing of refugee camps, and the floating pier in Gaza is expected to resume operations to deliver humanitarian aid in North Gaza. Russia and Vietnam agreed to promote strategic partnership in energy and security during Putin's visit to Vietnam. And tomorrow marks the first day of Kharif season astronomically in Dhofar Governorate. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, President of South Africa, on his inauguration and taking the constitutional oath as the President of the Republic for a new term. The sound of Israeli artillery fire rang out, echoing across farmlands as smoke rose across the border in Gaza. More than 8 months into the war in Gaza, Israel's advance is now focused on the two areas, Rafah on Gaza's southern edge and the area surrounding Deir al-Balah in the center. Israeli forces pounded areas in the central Gaza Strip overnight, killing 3 people and wounding dozens of others, according to medics, while tanks deepened their invasion into Rafah in the south. The Israeli military said yesterday forces were continuing their operations across the enclave, targeting military infrastructure in what it described as precise intelligence-based activities. The operations have forced more than 1 million people to flee since May, the vast majority already displaced from other parts of the enclave. Rafah housed over half of Gaza's 2.3 million people until May the 7th, when Israeli forces began the ground offensive into the city. Fewer than 100,000 are now believed to have left or to be left behind. The U.S. military's on-again, off-again floating pier in Gaza is expected to resume operations from today to unload sorely needed humanitarian aid for Palestinians. The official said the pier had been reattached to the shore on yesterday after being temporarily removed last Friday due to poor sea conditions. Aid began arriving via the U.S.-built pier on May the 17th, and the UN said it transported 137 trucks of aid to warehouses some 900 metric tons. But then rough seas damaged the pier, forcing repairs, and poor weather and security considerations have limited the number of days it has been operational. The Palestinian Central Bureau of Statistics said that there are about 6 million Palestinian refugees registered with the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA. The agency added in a statement on the occasion of World Refugee Day that 2.5 million Palestinian refugees live in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, explaining that the percentage of Palestinian refugees registered with the UNRWA in Jordan is about 40% of the total Palestinian refugees, while this percentage in Lebanon and Syria is about 8% and 10% respectively. The head of Lebanon's Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, said that nowhere in Israel would be safe if a full-fledged war breaks out between the two sides. Hezbollah has been trading fire with Israel for more than 8 months in parallel with the Gaza war. On Tuesday, the group published what it said was drone footage of sensitive military sites deep in Israeli territory. The group's head said they also had a bank of targets that it could target in precision strikes. Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz had warned on Tuesday that a decision on an all-out war with Hezbollah was coming soon, and Israel's military said operational plans for an offensive in Lebanon were approved and validated. Russia launched a new barrage of missiles and drones at Ukraine in the early hours of today, causing significant damage to a thermal power plant and maintaining pressure on the electricity grid. The attack on energy infrastructure in 4 regions damaged equipment, wounded 7 workers, and cut off electricity to more than 218,000 consumers. The attacks, Kiev says, have knocked out half of Ukraine's energy generating capacity since March and forced rolling blackouts. Moscow has said energy facilities are a legitimate military target and that some of the strikes were retaliation for Ukrainian attacks on Russian territory. Officials in Kiev have for months been appealing to Ukraine's allies to supply more air defenses against the airstrikes carried out by Russia throughout the nearly 28-month-old full-scale invasion. European Union countries agreed on a 14th package of sanctions against Russia over its war in Ukraine, diplomats said today, including their first restrictions on Russian gas. The package bans re-exports of Russian liquefied natural gas, LNG, in EU waters, but stops short of banning imports, as the bloc did in 2022 for Russian sea-borne oil. Some EU countries still import pipeline gas from Russia via Ukraine. However, gas market experts say the measure will have little impact, as transshipments of gas via EU ports to Asia represents only around 10% of total Russian LNG exports. The package also sanctions 3 Russian LNG projects and includes a clause designed to allow Sweden and Finland to cancel Russian LNG contracts, diplomats said. Russian President Vladimir Putin said during a visit to Vietnam today that Russia was keen to partner with the Southeast Asian country in energy and security. Russia, a major energy, natural resources and nuclear power, pivoted to Asia after the West imposed sanctions on Moscow for the conflict in Ukraine. A day after signing a mutual defense agreement with North Korea, Putin said that Moscow and Hanoi were interested in building a reliable security architecture in the Asia-Pacific region. Putin said separately at the meeting with Vietnamese Prime Minister Pham that Russia was ready to set up long-term supplies of LNG to the country. Russia has long cooperated with Vietnam in the oil and gas sector, with the state-run company being at the forefront of that business. Still to come in our news bulletin. In celebration of the blessed Eid al-Adha, the Wilaya of Mdhaybi hosted a traditional horse performance in the village of Lisq. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The Omani Astronomical Society confirmed that the phenomenon of this year's summer solstice will occur tomorrow, as it will be the first day of summer for the Northern Hemisphere, and it is also the first day of winter for the residents of the Southern Hemisphere. The Society explained that the length of the summer season will be approximately 93 days, 15 hours and 52 minutes. The daylight in the city of Muscat will last 13 hours, 35 minutes and 51 seconds. Astronomically, tomorrow is the first day of Kharif season for the Governorate of Dhofar. Visitors are patiently waiting for the start of the Kharif season to plan their trips to Salalah and other adjacent areas that are blessed during the season with mild rains and low temperature. Visitors from Oman and other neighboring countries can enjoy the nice rainy weather that lasts until the month of September and cover a wide area starting from the Wilaya of Marbat in the east up to Dhalkut in the west. Due to the cloud formation coming from the Arabian Sea, the land and the surrounding mountains turn into a lavish green with misty rains all over the place. Oman oil price August 2024 delivery increased by 20 cents to reach $84 and 66 cents per barrel. The average price of Oman oil June 2024 delivery reached $89.30 per barrel, thus $10.81 higher than the price of May 2024 delivery. Gold prices rose to record high in a week with increasingly weak U.S. economic data, which increases the possibility of the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates this year. The spot price of gold rose by 0.3% to $2,333.62 per ounce, after recording earlier in the session its highest levels since the 12th of June. American gold futures contracts recorded $2,347.30 per ounce. In celebration of the blessed Eid al-Adha, a traditional horse Arda was held in Lizq village in the wilaya of Al-Mdaybi. Excuse me. Our reporter Saleh bin Khalfan al-Rahbi attended the horse Arda and made the following report.
In the serene village of Lizq, nestled within the wilaya of Al-Mudaybi in North Al-Sharqiyya Governorate, the spirit of Eid al-Adha came alive with the rhythmic beats of the traditional horse Arda. This horse sport is deeply woven into Omani heritage. The celebration brought together locals and visitors alike, marking a joyous occasion during Eid days.
Horse Arda is an important part of Eid al-Adha celebration, where people come to enjoy the beautiful show and horse rider.
The horse riders demonstrated their exceptional talents, particularly with their daring feats of standing on horses while running at full speed. The impressive displays of skill and bravery earned the admiration and enthusiastic applause of the large crowds, marking the event a memorable festivity of tradition and community spirit.
We participate in this Arda to celebrate Eid and show our skills in dealing with the horse.
The sensational performances of traditional horse sports during Eid al-Adha contribute to the community's cultural pride and heritage, adding an extra layer of significance to the celebrations.
The traditional horse Arda is not just a spectacle, but a testament to the enduring authentic heritage of this land. From the wilaya of Al-Mudaybi, this is Saleh bin Khalfan al-Rahbi, North Al-Sharqiyya Governorate.
This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main headlines once again. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq greets the President of South Africa on his inauguration for a new term. Dozens are killed and several are wounded in Israeli bombing of refugee camps, and floating pier in Gaza is expected to resume operations to deliver humanitarian aid in North Gaza. Russia and Vietnam agreed to promote strategic partnership in energy and security during Putin's visit to Vietnam. And tomorrow marks the first day of Kharif season astronomically in Dhofar Governorate. With that, we come to the end of tonight's bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful weekend.